Hello guys, welcome back to the Beastie Room. Now you regulars will know that we've been doing quite a lot of egg sac pulling of recent weeks, quite a few indeed. And one of the questions that we've been getting asked an awful lot about is what happens to the slings or the nymphs after we put them in our nursery pot? What do we do with them then? Because quite often we show the egg sac pulling and then you don't really get to see them again. We've only done that once or twice. So what I thought we'd do today is we are going to cover what we do in the Beastie Room. So literally from we've pulled our egg sac and we're going to follow that through and the reasons behind how I keep these slings and how they develop and how we upgrade enclosures. Now some of this you may feel is a little controversial in the hobby, but this is how we do things here and we have really good results, and our spiders are good, strong, solid spiders and they're all in really good condition, and this is what we're aiming for. So what I want you to do is follow along the video and try and look at it with an open mind, especially regarding size of enclosures to the size of the slings that we're putting in them. It's most important. I'll explain it more as we go along, but it's most important that you open your mind up to that theory, and you'll see as we go along. Right, so imagine we have just pulled our egg sac. We are going to go back to the last egg sac that we pulled, the Cayenne Kraken. You'll know in there that how excited we were to get this egg sac. And as we said there before, it's a pretty common spider, but this girl has been an absolute nightmare for the last 4 years, and she's finally managed to drop and keep an egg sac. So we're really pleased. So here they are here. Now this was pulled last week. So if you'd like to come over here, we can have a little look in here. Now we got our nursery pot, and you'll remember how we made our nursery pot. It's literally just the deli cup here, and then we cut another one in half, as you can see there. You can see the two halves, and that just sits inside there, water in the bottom. And this is our nymphs. Now you would have remembered when we pulled this, they were a little bit more yellow. So these are actually darkening off now, and they're getting ready to molt. You'll see some of them are really almost like a chocolatey brown colour. Others are a little paler. They're all catching up. So what we do, we often get asked, don't they eat each other? They're not going to eat each other at this stage. At this stage, they're perfectly safe. And what they do then is they go through their nymph stages, which is 1 and 2. And then, if you have a look in this one, this is our ornata. And you can see the difference. These have webbed up the bottom. And these are proving to be a little bit more awkward. So we're still having to sort of crack what's going on with these. You can see there's one there, it's not doing too much. It's probably past that one actually. That's actually passed. And this is what you'll get. Every now and again you'll get the odd one that will pass over. Some sacs, like the Kraken here, are absolutely wonderful. So these have got another molt to go. And you can see they're starting to move around. And then once they get past their nymph stages, these are the first Metallicas that we had. We've got to be careful how we open the lid on these guys now. Now look, you can see these are fluffy little spiders. Now these are what we class as proper slings. If I move this over here a little bit, make it a bit easier. These here are actual slings now. And if you look down inside, you'll see this one here. This one hasn't molted yet. Yeah, that one there. He's got another molt to go before he ends up like one of these furry little things here. Now with the Metallica, they have an extra molt. These are the molts here. So they take a little longer, but they have an extra molt. All part of their cycle. Now, as you can see with these, you can see the difference in the stages, and the one thing that you'll notice is they're all still all kept together. Now with the Metallica, these are at a point now that now they've actually molted into proper slings. You see the difference between a nymph and an actual sling. They're very different, totally different looking. The sling looks more like a proper little spider, whereas the nymphs, they look like little Kojak spiders, don't they? Little bald spiders. So once we get them to this stage and we get to the furry sling stage that we've got here with these Metallicas, they will then need to be separated. So that's Camera Lady's job, and she steps in and she will separate all of those slings, and they will all be potted up into individual pots. And the reason we do that is because if we was to leave them all on their own as they are now, they will eventually eat one another, which we don't want to happen. So for the benefit of the clutch as a whole, we need to separate them. So they go from that, and then we then pop them all up like this. Now in here we got different ones to do different things, but you'll see these are all basic sling pots. And as you can see now, if you can see him, is it possible to see him? These are, yeah, or is it easier if I take the top off?
Yeah.
Take the top off. We could look down inside there now. Yeah. Now these are Incy olives, and you can see that's a tiny little sling. So what we do is we half fill the tub up with soil, and that little sling is in there. So there's no water, there's no nothing, and we keep our slings relatively dry. We don't want them getting too wet because it's difficult to maintain the environment. So we have Incies there. We've got more Incies here. Then we have a different one. These are Darlingi, which is a baboon spider, and you can see that way. You see how different, how that one's webbed it up, and you notice it's a little bit larger sling.
Get it away from things.
But
that's better.
It's still in the same size pot, and we have a couple of little air holes in the top of the pot, just to give some air. So now I'll hear many of you crying out, oh, there's no cross ventilation and things like that. It is not necessary with these young slings. You just don't need it. Now these ones here, these are regalis. And you will see here, where we find one. Now this is an interesting one. These are Indian ornamentals. And look at the size of that guy there. You get a good feel of how big that sling is. Now these are older than the other two that we've just shown you, and that sling is getting on for, I would say, 4 to 5 centimeters, and he's still in that tiny little sling pot. Now I can hear you all asking, why is such a big spider in that tiny little sling pot? As you can see there, he's starting to move. He is a big spider. Now one of the things that we've noticed with rearing these spiders is that a spider that size, if kept in there, grows really well, and it grows strong. It's a good solid spider. Now if we keep them in a pot this size, which is what most of you would think was suitable for that size spider, you'd want it to go in something bigger. What we find is, in the daytime, these guys sit around, they don't do nothing. But of a night time, they are wandering constantly searching around. So we keep them in here until they're at a point where they're almost just too big to get on doing anything at all. Then we move them up, because it's so important. When we've put these slings in from like tiny little ones like the Metallicas we were looking at a minute ago, that are only like 2 centimeters, when we've gone from that size straight into one of these, they don't do so well. So by keeping them restricted, they grow better, they grow stronger, they're just much better quality spiders, which is more important, you know, it's most important for you guys. You guys are purchasing these at the end of the day, and so we want to try and offer the strongest, fittest spider we possibly can. And by keeping them in here and curtailing that movement, we are getting really fit spiders, really strong spiders. So these will go in here. He will have one more molt in this tub, then he will go up and he will be moved up. But as you can see, that's a small tub for quite a large sling. And we often get asked, you know, when should we upgrade upgrade our spiders and their homes? When should we do that? And the simple answer is, if your spider is doing really well, it doesn't need a huge amount of space. And by keeping that space limited, we're getting better spiders. So you too can do exactly the same thing. Don't be in a rush to put your spiderling into something big. So when we've gone from that size, they then move on and they then go to like this one here. We can look at this. Now this is a Piscithera formosa, and you can see there, that is quite a large spider. This is a standard fruit fly pot, which is 510 mils. So basically, you know, what you get your fruit flies in. In actual fact, I've got one here. So there you go. Yeah. And then what we do there, now this spider here, this is probably getting on for, I don't know, 7, maybe 8 centimeters. So that's quite a big spider, but it's got more than enough space in here. And like I say, over night time, these guys will get out, they will wander around, they will be all over the place. And you can see they've still got room there, they can build their web, they can do everything they need to do. Now we got others here that we can show. Now this one here, this is the same size pot. Now this is a Panthobetus petersi. So you might want to come over here. We'll see if we can't get him to come up. I don't know if he'll come up, but you can see the difference in how we've sort of arranged it. Here he comes. So whoa, don't come bolting out. Look at that. You see how quick he was? So what we've done here with these particular ones, these guys, they enjoy a bit of humidity and they also like to burrow. So many of these slings, even your arboreal slings, will burrow rather than climb. And you'll notice in the pots where we had the regalis and that, there's nothing in there for them. We only half fill it with soil. There's no bit of wood in there for them to climb on or anything like that. They don't need it. But with these, same principle, we half fill it with soil. That gives them the correct environment that they need. It gives them security for when they're burrowing. But the main thing is curtailing their activities. And that is the most important thing. So we're not looking at making a bioactive setup or anything fancy here. All we're trying to achieve is to grow the very best sling that we possibly can. That is what the important part is. So that's the reasoning behind why we keep them in these smaller tubs. Now these petersi here, these are a Panthobetus. These will get large. They will get big spiders like this, but it takes time. They will do another molt in this pot before they then go up to the next pot. So what we'll do, we'll show you one here. Now this, oh, I don't want to lose that. What we do when we go around and we feed our spiders and bits and pieces, if we see a molt and we don't know what sex it is, we get the molt and we just put it on top of the tub. so we know that it belongs to that spider. This one molted only the other day, and I've still yet to check the molt to see what sex the spider is. Now this is a we've gone up in size. You see now we're up into a bigger enclosure now. Now this is a Panthobetus machala, and as you can see, she's very, very black, and she's just molted out. And this is why she's that real black colour. Yeah, he or she. We're not quite sure what it is, although there is a little bit of colouring on her carapace there. You probably can't quite make that out. There you go. You can just see in the carapace, just in there, there's a little bit of colour. So there is a possibility that this may well be a male, but we will know when we check the thing. Now, interestingly enough, look at the difference in the colour. That's a freshly molted Panthobetus, and there's its skin. The skin is almost like a sturmy brown colour, just like our sturmies. But when they molt out, they're black. And they do this all the way through their life. So what will happen with this spider now is, as she matures and she gets older, she will slowly turn brown, and then she will molt and she'll be black again. And we keep going like that. But anyway, what we were saying about is the homing of our spiders. Now, as you can see there with that spider, this is more than enough size to keep this spider in the most optimum condition, really, for her perfect health. And what we're looking for is, like we said before, we want her to grow into a nice strong spider. And she will do that in this size enclosure. So the real gist of this sort of video really is to get you guys around to thinking about the actual size of your spider compared to the size of its home. And many people, and we see online all the time, that people are saying, oh, it needs X amount of this and X amount of that. Now, when someone turns around and says, well, it should have 3 times its leg length in enclosure, this is pure nonsense. It really is pure nonsense. So depending on what you want to do, what you want to achieve, when we're growing them on, we're looking for health. And that is what we're aiming at. And you will get that by doing it this way, with these small things, small steps, and bring them up slowly. Once this girl goes out to a molt again, she will be ready for a semi-sized actual enclosure. So she will be of that size. She will almost double when she molts again. So she'll be too big for this box by then. But we'll be looking at going into one of these here, which is like a 20 by 20 by 20. That or the next one up. It will be, either one of them will be absolutely ideal. Right. Well, I hope that has cleared up a few of the questions that we get regarding what we do with our slings. And as you can see, it's not rocket science. It's pretty easy. It's just keeping in mind the benefit to your spider. And at the moment, there's an awful lot of talk about things need to be in bigger enclosures. And quite often, bigger is more detrimental to the health of your spider than by keeping it in a smaller one. And we've been doing this like this for a long time. And all of our spiders, they're all coming out lovely. You saw there with the Panthobetus, there's no bald bum there. She's in absolute pristine condition. And this is what we're aiming for. Even things like our Pokey here, you see there, she's not particularly nervous. She's sitting out on top again now, and I'm moving my hand around above her, and she's just sitting there. You know, these are happy spiders. These spiders are content, and they're sitting out. You can see her there. So this is what we're aiming for, to try and get that happy, content spider. Right. I think that sort of covered anything. If there's any other things, just drop them in the comments, and we will do our very best to answer them. Now, it's Monday today. Tomorrow at 8 o'clock, over on Scott's Inverts, we will be doing a live feed on Scott's channel, and we are going to be talking about breeding and conditioning of our spiders. So a really, really interesting subject, and we can cover a little bit more and expand on what we've spoke about today on this video. So there'll be much more. So make sure you head over there. Scott's Inverts, 8 o'clock on Tuesday evening. It will be well worth a watch. I look forward to seeing you there. And don't forget, while you're here, hit that like button. It really does help us out. Right, that all being said, don't forget, be calm, be gentle, and love your spider. And I will see you soon, guys.